Alright, and that's pretty much the concept behind the Fool's Idol here. You just kind of roll over. There she is, the last one. Just got to run up to her and tag her. Avoid that magic circle. Oh, no, 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 no. Tumble. Okay, okay, we're good. You avoid that. What the f... What's going on, everybody? Today's video, we are going to be venturing into the prison of Latria, and that's over at the Prison of Hope. 3-1 is the numerical level name for the Demon Souls walkthrough. If you haven't done so already, I highly recommend you check out my easy start beginning walkthrough, which will give you a lot of endgame armor as well as a 25,000 plus soul head start to begin your run of the game. So it's been super helpful, at least so far, with us today if you've been following the series. But for now, we are going to head into the Archstone of the Tower Queen and head over into the Prison of Hope. Now, in the Prison of Hope, we're going to be venturing and dealing with a rather troublesome enemy, one of the harder enemies in the game, in the form of these Mind Flayer creatures, which you'll see in just a minute. I'm going to equip the Thief Ring along with the Cling Ring for this run because being noticed at the last possible moment will help us get the drop on these Mind Flayer creatures. Now, over here in this area, there's a lot of prison cells that have some items. They're rudimentary items, and we don't really need them. And a lot of times they release enemies, so we try to avoid opening doors if we can. So here's the Mind Flayers here. As you can see, he's got that Jingle AoE attack. That's a shockwave, and that does about a third of my health and damage. So you want to be very careful with that. And then you want to heal up if you can. He also has a skill that will paralyze you. That was that green energy ball you just saw a moment ago. And that will freeze you in place, they will then rush over to you, grab you, and then stab you through the head with a tentacle. And that usually does 3/4 of your health and damage, possibly more. So it's best to avoid them and fight at a distance if you can. But also beware that they are going to throw a ton of magical spells at you. So hopefully you picked up the Shade Heater Shield from 2-2. And if you haven't done that yet, just to run out and grab it. But otherwise, you know, if you just block, it's going to deal a little bit of extra damage. It'll bleed through, but nothing that you can't quite deal with. So I picked up a couple of random items. We're going to head down this hallway here. There will be another Mind Flayer creature, and as you can see, he's trying to do the paralyzing skill, which is a very large projectile, so it tends to clip into walls and not come through. So in these narrow corridors is the best way to fight them. You just got to watch out for when they fire off soul rays. And a common drop for them is the fresh spices, which are very important for this level because we are going to be using magic at a distance for most of these enemies. So we want to equip that on our quick bar if you haven't done so already. These little dreglings are kind of what I mean for enemies that get released from the cells. They don't really do a lot of harm, but they can stack up on you very quickly. And when you're fighting a Mind Flayer on top of that, it tends to get very difficult very quickly. There's that paralyzing attack again. It has a very medium range, so as long as you stay just outside of its range like I did, just far enough, because you can still stay locked on, but oh, he hit me there with it. You could see that I'm frozen in place, and he would usually run over and do a grab. Fortunately, the last soul arrow took him down. Now in this level also we're going to be getting a couple of very important items and a valuable NPC in the form of Sage Frake, and he's going to teach us more advanced spells, so that's going to be very, very important. So I'm going to go and grab a couple more of these rudimentary items. Soul consumables, very important, but I'm going to speed up a bit, and we will talk about the next area in just a second. You may have also noticed those keyring areas there. Those are very important because they open up various cell areas to get us through and a shortcut later on. So we want to try to collect as many of those as we can so that we can open up as many cell doors as needed. Here's an example of one right here. Grab the key. It's a 3rd floor key. Some of the cells are empty except for an item, so you're welcome to pop them open and grab what's inside. Like this is the wizard's outfit, which is great for using magic spells and things. So not necessarily a required armor set, but just a nice to have. So as you can see, I've cleared through the fog wall and I'm on the 4th floor of the prison now. We need to get another important key set. And that will open this door right here. So there is a key set that we need to grab first, and once we get it, we can get access. You can see I'm checking the key hooks there. It doesn't spawn there. It's in a separate room on this floor, which we will discover in just a moment. And it's a lot of this, really. There aren't a lot of enemies in this level per se. There's just, you know, a few sprinklings of the Mind Flayers, which is good because they're, you know, very annoying. But it's important to note that they, you know, very easily ruin your day. But I'm going to be speeding up the video in a lot of areas because there's just a lot of just wandering around, because the prison does feel like a maze, especially for newer players. And you see I'm taking this one guy down, just kind of strafing around. He's going to do the shockwave. It's going to hit me, but the last soul arrow will take him down from there. Don't fall down the chasm there, by the way. And you noticed, you might have seen the key hanging out on the wall on the far side that I completely walked past and forgot that was totally there. But this is the key that will open up the door that we were trying to get into a moment ago. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. As you can see, the lithids here. Good news about this is that they can actually clip through the wall, so you can totally cheese them here, and they can't really do much about it. None of their attacks, I don't believe even their shockwave attack clips through the wall at all. So just kind of stick and move, go in and out, and you can take them out. That's the only Mind Flayer in that area too. So you just pop that bad boy open, and you can grab the fresh spice that he ended up dropping. So that's really nice. You want to try to get as much of the fresh spice as you can, because we will need it for the safe way to beat the boss in this area. And I'm going to speed things up once again as we go to our next area. Okay, and I'm going to slow up because there's another Mind Flayer. He's hiding behind the wall there. A little trick when you're throwing the soul arrows around. As long as the enemy is, you're locked onto the enemy, your attack will target them, even if you start moving before you cast. So what I'm doing here is I'm beginning the casting animation, and then from behind the pillar, and then I'm moving in front of the pillar in range of the Mind Flayer there to make sure my spell hits. This has the smallest window of a chance for them to hit you with an attack from them. So that's the best way to do it. So just start your animation, you know, cast the spell, then move out into the open where you have a line of sight to it, the creature or whatever you're trying to hit, and then you can smack him and then hide right back again before any potential counterattacks. Here's a little merchant lady. She wants souls so that she can remain in the prison of Latria and don't go insane, as per the lore of the story. But her big item is the Ring of Avarice, which increases the amount of souls that you get by a lot. But it costs a ton of souls to purchase. Fortunately, later on in this walkthrough series, there will be a level where we can get one for free, and we don't need to buy one. So here we open up the area here. Going down that hallway there will take us to Sage Frake. He's actually hidden behind a prison cell at the moment. So we need to actually find a key to unlock his cell, and it's actually right towards the very end of the level, so we're going to have to deal with it for a moment. You can see that door is locked. We grab one more key here in the middle, but that's not going to open this door. This is actually a warden's key, and there will be an area where we will pick that up, and we will backtrack here for the shortcut in just a moment. And our last key that we picked up a while ago, the first floor key, will open up this door. If you didn't pick up that key by the warden doors that I mentioned earlier, you won't be able to open that door. So you have to make sure you pick up that key to access the level here. And here is this big ball abomination. He's highly resistant to magic. As you can see, my magic spell did like no damage, so you have to get up close and personal. But he does, he has several arms with several weapons attached, and it can shred you very quickly, especially with a small one-handed weapon like the Crescent Falchion that I have equipped right now. So in that case, you'll want to definitely just avoid it. It doesn't really give you a whole lot, and the items aren't really worth it for our build. So once you exit the prison properly, you get this totally intimidating Bastila contraption that auto shoots bolts and arrows at you. Now, a skilled player will be able to run down this hallway and time his dodge rolls so that he doesn't get hit by these arrows. We are not going to do that. We just picked up the Prison of Hope Warden's key that I mentioned that opens those doors that we passed by a moment ago. So we're going to pick those up, and it's not really a shortcut, but it is a lot easier and a lot safer to backtrack to where those doors were, and there will only be 1 or 2 mind flayers we'll need to contend with, as opposed to timing your rolls. So in those things, if you mistime your roll, you will die. Like it will 2-shot you, but it stun locks you. So it's not really worth it to try if you're not, you know, good at the game. So I'll speed things up back until we get to the Warden's door again. Alright, we have opened the Prison Warden's door key, and here we're going to come across 2 Mind Flayers. We may only need to combat one of them. I believe in this run-through I had to do 2, but there's 1 in each hallway. So there were 2 locked doors, but the Warden's key opens both doors, and picture it kind of like a U. You go down one of these hallways, and then there's a cross hallway that connects the 2. And you'll see what I mean in just a moment. But yeah, this guy just decides he wants to try to bum rush me, which was the best possible outcome you would want when fighting these things, because they don't have the range to get to you, and you can just keep spamming your spells until they are dead. If you're looking for melee action against these guys, they do get stunned fairly easily, so if you have a larger weapon, you can kind of stun lock them, but it's easier and a lot safer to do combat with them at a distance. They're also very weak to fire damage, so if you picked up a dragon weapon of some kind or upgraded one somewhere, you can use it against them, and it does kill them very quickly, faster than these spells do, but it's definitely not necessarily, you know, worth it as far as doing it the easy way. I went down the other hallway that would open up just because there's a Renowned Hero Soul, which is a very, very nice soul consumable item, which is what we want. We want to level our character up as much as we can in between levels, so that's definitely worth the pickup. And then we open up this door, and this door actually takes us behind the big statue Bastila of Death, and we can disarm it from this side. So it's really helpful in that regard. So we're going to just run around the tower here, enter through a fog gate, and there is a lever at the back of this statue that we will pull right there, and it disarms the arrows. So then you can just run up and grab all of those goodies, and a lot of them are mostly soul consumable items, so they are definitely worth it. There's a Storied Warrior Soul, very important. And then the other ring item you get is the Clever Cat's Ring. And that's a weapon that or a ring that you have equipped that if your hit points are lower than, I believe, 30% health, you have increased damage with your primary weapon. And a lot of builds revolve around that, having their hit points down on purpose. There's a sword that drains your health constantly, or a curse weapon that drains your health so you can get to that threshold and you do insane amounts of damage. Now I'm going to head up the far tower, not the tower that we walked through to get to the Bastila, but this other tower instead, because there is going to be the key that will free Sage Freak in this area, and there will also be a very, very important enemy that we absolutely have to kill before we face off against the boss. Don't have to worry about anything, by the way. There's no enemies here, so I'll speed things up until we get to our victim and our key. Alright, now this guy here, he's casting a spell of some kind. He's just kind of doing his thing. We're going to kill him. And the reason why we're going to kill him is because the boss actually, if you don't kill this one enemy, he actually resurrects the boss indefinitely in the boss room. And there's no way to kill him from there. So you're pretty much trapped at that point, which is just the lamest mechanic, I feel, in this game. You know, I can get it if he casts it once and it resurrects the boss once and you have to fight him a second time, but doing it twice is just miserable. There is a ring over there, which we will get eventually, but it's not really worth it right now because there is a Black Phantom that's in stealth mode. They're literally invisible and they come out and they surprise attack you, and they can ruin your day as well, so we are going to avoid doing that until we are ready to face off against the boss. So we're going to head back down the tower, and we're going to do a lot of backtracking here because we need to head back to Sage Freak's prison cell where I showed you that was just a moment ago, and we will be taking the Bastila route down that hallway. So I'll speed things up until we get to Sage Freak. All right, we're in Sage Frake's hallway. There's nobody in that one. There's nobody in that one. It's the third cell down on the right-hand side. And we will use the special key to open the cell door, and we will free Sage Freak. He's very grateful, and he will meet us in the Nexus, and he actually teaches you more powerful wizard spells, including a very, very important spell that we will be purchasing from him once we get through this area and defeat the boss for this this world. So he gets us Jerry's Stiletto, which is a thrusting weapon. It's all right. It's not bad, but definitely not what we need for our build. So we are going to, once again, super fast forward back to the main stairwell that leads to the boss room. All right, so as we're making our way to the stairwell, you may have noticed a few other consumable or grabbable items on the little balconies there. If you're careful, you can definitely grab them and then vault back up again without any trouble whatsoever. But the items you get aren't really worth it, and there's always that chance that you're going to fall over. And if it's one thing that super sucks when it comes to Demon Souls, is that if you die right at the boss room, it feels like a tremendous slog to get back because all the enemies respawn, etc. So what I would recommend doing if you want to get those items is wait until you've defeated the boss for this world, and then you can simply use that Archstone to backtrack to this area. Or just start back at the Prison of Hope and walk through it from there. But beating the boss is what's most important. Widow's Lotus stops Plague, so we'll need that for the Valley of Defilement when we decide to come across that area. But then we're going to rush up the stairs. There's going to be a Black Phantom taking pot shots. We ran past them already. They have a crossbow and they take attacks, but they're kind of a headache. But this fog gate will lead us to the Fool's Idol. So now we come over to the Fool's Idol. Now this boss fight is an interesting one. You're going to have a lot of these little dreglings all around the board that are just going to be a nuisance and are annoying. But the concept behind this fight is she's going to make several clones of herself, and you have to basically decide which is the correct Fool's Idol, and if you select correctly, she takes damage, just like this. So you deal as much damage as you can before she teleports away. And you see I'm just trying to get as much done as I can. And then there are multiple copies of her. So I selected wrong there. And you might also notice those little magic circles on the floor. Those are traps. If you step on one, you're going to be paralyzed, and that is going to get you whooped on with her magic attacks. All of her normal Fool's idols, her clones, will shoot soul arrows, and the main one, the real one, will shoot a soul ray, which does a lot more damage. And as you can see, they're firing off all of these little beams here. You're trying to hide behind the pillars to figure out which one is the real Fool's Idol. You can see I'm having a hard time chopping down this pillar for some reason. Great, cool. So I think there is a magic circle like right by her, so I have to be careful when I walk up to her. Let's see, I'm able to elude that, but you can see another one that dropped onto the floor, and I'm trying to avoid that. A lot of people like to kill the dreglings first. I don't, because they can actually trip the magic circles, and when that happens, it spares me from tripping the magic circles. So it's better to keep them alive, in my opinion. Another easy way to go about doing this is using your magic attacks to attack them at a range. You won't be able to get as much damage in, so it's going to be more of an endurance fight that way, as opposed to just running up and smacking them. But it is a lot safer because you don't have to worry about the, there's the soul arrow, the potential for getting blasted to death. So you see, that is definitely the correct Fool's Idol. I walk into a magic spell there like an idiot. And as you can see, I took a ton of damage for my efforts. So if you walk up to the magic circle too many times, even just twice, it will end your run and you have to start over. So instead I switch to my magic here, and I'm showing you, I'm able to do like roughly 200 or so damage before she teleports. In this case, I only did about 108. So it really isn't nearly as much damage this way, but it also is much safer, again, because you don't have to worry about being out in the open. Also, you can see that one Fool's Idol clone disappeared. If you attack the wrong one, it ends its attack animation and then vanishes. And as long as there's one clone remaining, you can still attack the main one without her teleporting and starting over. So in that case, it's also much safer as well to use your magic to clear out the clones instead. And you can see that is the correct Fool's Idol there. As I'm chopping away at her again. It's easier to clear out the clones as well and just leave one remaining so that there's just two left, the real one and the clone, and then you can try to deal out the damage that way. You can see I just throw a spell at them. They finish their attack animation. That one will disappear in a moment. That's not the real one. I believe it's all the way down the end. And she always has this nasty penchant of reappearing as far away from you as possible, except when you assume that, because it's Murphy's Law, right? She's like, oh, well, you're going to be all the way over there. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and teleport on the opposite end of the map. But then if you assume that that's the case, then you're going to be disappointed because she's going to be just on, you know, probably the one closest to you. You can also tell the difference between that Soul Arrow has a much more of a darker blue, purple hue to it, and the real Soul Ray is a much brighter and vibrant blue. You'll probably see it right here. That was a clone. She's all the way over on the altar. But that's pretty much the gist of this boss fight. It's really just a patience game, figuring out which one's the right one while avoiding those traps on the floor. You can see it's a little bit more of a vibrant blue color. And I forgot to switch to my main hand weapon there, so that's going to cost me a lot. Still got an extra 70 damage in otherwise, so it's definitely still worth it to go main hand if you can, if you're comfortable with it. I tagged that one Fool's Idol there, and you can see she disappears. They usually do one more attack before they disappear, so if they didn't finish their attack animation yet, they will definitely do one more attack before they vanish for good. Here's another one. There she is. So she's over there. I may be able to get her down here. Oh, nope, I tagged on the magic circle, so that freezes me, and now I have to do it again. Oh, so close. That's a bummer. And that always happens, you know, it's just one of those things. So from here, it's probably best just to pull out the wand and just try to... I don't know why they derp out and attack randomly like that, but whatever, it's fine, it's cool. I believe I don't think it's that one. I think it's the one a little bit further down on the left-hand side. But yeah, that's Fool's Idol. Long story short, it's kind of a tedious fight, to be honest, because of the mechanics behind it. And then keep in mind, if you didn't kill that one enemy earlier, you totally, unfortunately, you know, he resurrects her, and you have to start all over again. And you just keep doing that forever. It's just such a pain. But with that, we have vanquished the demon. We have cleared 3-1. And at this point, we would venture towards the altar. And a cutscene's going to drop in just a moment where gargoyles will bring you to the Upper Latria arch stone. And that's where we will get the doll's soul. And that is a soul that we can turn into Sage Frake for the Soul Ray, which is very similar to the Soul Arrow. It has a very quick cast time. You can move while you cast it, sort of. But the upgrade for Soul Ray is A, more damage, and B, it actually passes through multiple enemies. So if you can line up a bunch of enemies in a line, it does damage to all of them. So that's really, really powerful. It does cost a little bit more FP to use, so you want to be very careful with your magic consumption and bring magic restoration items as needed. But aside from that, we're also going to head back and do our normal upkeep. So we'll repair our gear, we will upgrade our weapons as needed, and then of course consume all of our soul consumable items and then level up to the best of our ability. And what we want to try to also do in this particular area is we want to start looking at our faith. We want to try to get it to 16 because in a couple of levels we're going to be going to 4-2, and we will be doing a fight with, or we're going to release an NPC rather, and he's going to teach us a miracle that will be very good for an easy style walkthrough for beginners. It's called Second Chance. It's very important. But we'll talk about that in another video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will go ahead and see you in the next video. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you then.